So why is the Israeli establishment so wrapped? Why is it so alarmed and panicky? I'll just give you a few examples of some BDS successes recently, because Canada is apart from the rest of the world, and many may not know what's happening elsewhere. Although Canada itself has been called a hub of delegitimization, thanks to the great work. Thanks to the great work being done here by solidarity groups, as I mentioned, Kaya, Saya, Kwaya, Faculty for Palestine, and all the others are doing excellent work in this country. And it is alarming Israel to the extent that Paris thought that you blocked Israeli ships. So he's looking into the future, perhaps. But some of the recent achievements, other than the Israeli Apartheid Week, which has been growing, and it all started here in Toronto, so a big applause for Toronto. The recent Queers Against Israeli Apartheid successes with the Pride Parade and all the media coverage, although they did not participate, it was better than participating in fact. David Cameron, the Prime Minister of Britain, just recently withdrew as honorary patron of the Jewish National Fund, a colonialist entity that's helping colonize Palestinian land. This is the first British Prime Minister ever to withdraw from that position. Never happened. All British Prime Ministers have always been patrons of the JNF. So that's the first. This was due to a big campaign in Britain. A big campaign against the JNF, led by the Scottish Palestine Solidarity Campaign, IJAN, the International Jewish Anti-Zionist Network, the BDS National Committee, as well as the PSC in the UK, Palestine Solidarity Campaign in the UK. Veolia, the large French conglomerate involved in building the Jerusalem Light Rail, connecting the colonies around East Jerusalem with the city. We've called for a boycott campaign against Veolia in November 2008. Until now, Veolia lost more than $10 billion, with a B, $10 billion worth of contracts due to BDS activists predominantly. Some incompetence and mismanagement helped us, I have to admit, but BDS activists can take most of the credit anyway. One of the biggest symbolic victories for the BDS movement, really huge victory, is Deutsche Bahn, the German railway company owned by the government. This is German company owned by the German government. Just withdrew a few weeks ago from the A1 project, which is a railway project connecting Tel Aviv with Jerusalem, because the plan had the railway passing through occupied Palestinian territory. We pressured the German government, we pressured the German company. Many activists in Germany worked for long months on this campaign, and ultimately the German foreign minister sent a memo to the company saying that German government advises you to reconsider your involvement because considerations of violations of international law may come up. This is German for get the hell out of there. The first time any German company withdraws from any Israeli project on political legal grounds since 1948. It never happened before. Norway, which has the third largest pension fund in the world, some $320 billion fund, withdrew its investments in 3 Israeli companies. Large credit goes to Adala New York, one of the pioneering BDS groups in New York, and we have one representative here. And it's a small group of very committed, principled, good researchers, eloquent people who do the best press releases. They pressured one of those companies in which the Norwegians are invested, and they had many allies around the world to support their campaign, including allies in Israel. We have a big BDS group, growing BDS group in Israel, not yet big, but growing BDS group in Israel, called Boycott from Within. And we have the Coalition of Women for Peace in Israel that's supporting us. Both helped with this campaign, together with Adala New York and the BNC, until we convinced the Norwegians to withdraw their investments from those companies. The Swedish were convinced as well. Agrexco, the largest exporter of Israeli produce, agricultural produce, is suffering major financial crisis. This is very recent news. And actually its stocks were downgraded to junk bond level due to the financial losses. And our partners in Europe can certainly take most of the credit for that. The anti-Agrexco campaigns in France, Italy, Britain, Belgium, Spain, and elsewhere, have hurt Agrexco's sales in Europe so much, and it was really effective. Ahava, the campaign led by Code Pink, targeting Ahava, was also very successful in many, many places, but I don't have much time to go into it. One big success inside the occupied territories is the establishment of the Palestinian Trade Union Coalition for BDS. Finally, after many, many years of work, almost the entire Palestinian Trade Union community got together and formed the Palestinian Trade Union Coalition, supporting BDS, calling for a boycott of Israel, boycott of all institutions complicit in Israel's occupation and apartheid, including the Histadrut. So we have a clear statement from almost the entirety of the Palestinian Trade Union movement calling for a boycott of the Histadrut. And just to end, Gandhi famously said, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. I think we're very close to the last one.
I was just trying to stress the point that, as a socialist, I think that independent working class action is the way forward, but begging Obama or Harvard or corporations to act in defense of the Palestinians is something else entirely.
Okay, we never beg. Let me just explain. We never beg. I mean, if we understood anything from the South African anti-apartheid movement, is that you make them listen. You don't beg them to listen. In the South, I was personally involved in the anti-apartheid movement in New York, where I went to school. We made the administration of my university, Columbia University, divest. We made it after many, many years of struggle. Thousands of students participated in that. We made every faith community, every union, we liberated part by part by part, until finally Congress listened, until finally there was major divestment. So it has to be mass struggle. We have to build a mass movement that applies pressure to gain change, to win some change. It cannot happen by begging. We never believed in that. And of course, the trade unions are a very important part of that. And just for those who don't know, the support for BDS among trade unions is really mushrooming. The Trades Union Congress of Great Britain, which represents some 6.5 million workers, last year adopted a BDS policy, and they're applying a partial boycott of settlement products as a beginning, but they adopted BDS. COSATU, of course, the South African Trade Union Federation, was the biggest and still is the most important supporter of BDS among the trade unions around the world. Not to mention CUPE, Ontario, and the Canadian Union of Postal Workers was the first national union in Canada to support BDS. Many trade unions in Quebec, I don't have all the lists of names, many trade unions in Quebec have supported BDS, teachers, others, public employees, and so on. In France, in Belgium, Ireland, Scotland, of course, in many countries, trade unions are joining the BDS movement increasingly. And this is part of the reason why we say the South African moment has arrived for Palestine, and part of the reason why Barak, Peres, Netanyahu, and everyone else is so alarmed. When you hit the trade unions, that's a lot of people who are ready to do solidarity, effective solidarity action.